Hi, we're back. Yeah, we're off to a start. That immortal technique. Hey, what a way to start New Year's. Yes! So, because it came up during that video, we're doing this one. Also, straight out of the comments, it was put on the list. We go forward with the list today.
One of the things we might learn from history.
Just make sure that's how it starts, that abruptly.
One of the things we might learn from history is that the government's interests are not necessarily the same as ours. In fact, are rarely the same as ours. Because if you think the government's interests are the same as yours, then you think, well, if something is going wrong, it must be that they made a mistake because they really care about us. They don't care about us.
The greatest beneficiary of Reagan years was corporations, wealthy businessmen and ministers of foreign nations. Bush promised that he would save the environment, signed the Clean Air Act and had the public buying it. 2 years after that, we seeing his imprudence. The EPA allowed tons of hazardous pollutants. Little money was allocated for the enforcement. Contaminated drinking water everywhere was dormant. But business worries override the safety of the public. Ecological breakdowns and nobody would publish. When Reagan got elected and he finally took to office, he spent $250,000 on his living quarters. He built the military even more and paid for it with cuts and benefits for the poor. He made 140 billion cuts in social programs. Human consequences wasn't justified to no man. He said that he still balanced the budget, but silly Leontine guaranteed that he wouldn't. The 80s were the triumph of upper class America. Ascendancy of the rich, the poor, he would bury you. The gap between the rich and the poor grew dramatically. Black families were hit the hardest, be emphatically. Lack of resources and racial discrimination. Broken homes, drug addiction, incarceration. Instead of trying to help the people out of this position, politicians call for the building of more prisons. Reagan lied about Iran, lied to Nicaragua, lied about the Soviets, and lied about the Contras. He sold arms to Iran, and all of it was cited. But plausible denial is why he ain't get indicted. Ali North stood trial, the jury found...
Okay, I'm trying not to get so heavy because if you want to see me go off, Mortal Technique pulled it straight out of me, okay? Hold on. There's a reason I stopped right there.
But plausible denialism.
Yeah, plausible deniability. I can't give out my phone number, but my answering machine right now basically says because of the communist, the socialist coup taking place in the country, I'm not allowed to contract with any government agency, and for plausible deniability, I won't check my messages ever. Pow, pow, pow. Just erase. Yeah, I can't. I'm not willing to contract with the government. So, as of today's date, New Year's Eve Day, 2021, I love all this shit. And if I was listening to it all the day it came out, I would probably run up and down the street agreeing with 99% of all of it. I say it that way because of where I grew up, farm, work, but then, the 2 or 3 adopted kids in town, the 4 or 5 POCs were the most popular kids. So it's just the entire narrative doesn't make sense for my life. I guess I feel sorry for everybody who lived around a bunch of haters and didn't put that shit in check. Them people pretty much got their ass whooped every weekend. I mean, there just wasn't... I just didn't see it. I keep thinking, no, they were the most popular kids in school. I mean, now when we were little kids, in the city, when we were like 5, they made fun of Alan for being, but it's all weird. But yeah, I love plausible deniability. That's the way I get out of a lot of shit. I ain't reading your mail. You come pick me up. Yes, I want my lawyer.
The Contras, he sold arms to Iran, and all of it was cited. But plausible denial is why he ain't get indicted. Ali North stood trial, the jury found him guilty, but he ain't do no time because the motherfucker's filthy. Reagan sent Marines into a crazy situation. 200 died in Lebanon because it was dangerous. After that, he sent forces into Grenada. Congress was notified but not consulted. That's a horror. What good are shows of force if you never use it? That's the way the Reagan mind worked, and he abused it. Why do people die in countries we invaded? So we can make it clear that violence was understated. Reagan's raid on Libya, that was terrorism. Bombs fell on a crowded city, 100 victims. The Cold War, let me relay you the facts. The foreign policy just delayed the collapse. The U.S. policy motivated by fear to justify the suppression of independent care. The military budget was $280 billion. Colin Powell said he want to scare the world civilians. In order to boost his popularity with voters, Bush went to war with Iraq and hid the motives. He abandoned sanctions and said it was for protection. He only chose war because the presidential elections. Who believed that we would liberate Kuwait when we invaded other countries every single week? You think that they could build a nuclear bomb? They was 10 years away from having nuclear bombs. Less than half of us favored military action. No blood for oil was the citizens' reaction. Officials lied about small bombs. American reporters were kept from the war's harm. Clinton got in and appointed people of color, but he abandoned them when they started working together. He spoke of a new government for a new century. Invoked Dr. King's name, compared their philosophy. Recall Dr. King's dream of racial equality, but put more blacks in prison than anybody in history. Continued the military.
And this is fire. And I, once again, so just like Immortal Technique, I am 95% all in. I would have nothing to say. I shake this motherfucker's hand and say, you got it. Except that, you know, here's the thing. Y'all, I don't know you all. I don't know anybody. But everybody outside this room and me, myself, and I has a big problem denying the elite pedophile problem that exists on the planet. The Maxwell trial proves it. The fact that the CNN producers, all of that shit, right? All of that shit. And oh no, it makes me uncomfortable. So it's fucking Whitey's problem. It's this politician's problem. It's this person's problem. Really, when it's the entire elite system that consumes your youth and then manipulates you like puppet masters. And those people see no color. They exist on every planet, every inch of the planet, in every country. Not every one of them is installed. Some of them are loved by their people. But there's still that elitist douchebag everywhere. There's always the big house at the top of the hill. Until the big house on the top of the hill is where the enemy always lives, you'll never get your socialist dream come true state. Your utopia will never exist because you're not going to be able to have a multi-tiered society in your utopian socialist dream world. There is no world where the masses work really hard for you so you can tell us what to do. That is a fucking pipe dream, and I think why people hate Western culture so much is we threw off serfdom so fucking long ago, and then I believe we had the streets run red with our corrupt leaders' blood, and we decided that we would stand up and crush people who were trying to make us not free. And I'm talking about from the working class, people who want to celebrate a couple holidays, work all day, take care of their family and their little chunk of existence, and that's their whole life. That's the majority of the planet, a-holes. It's not any thought leader. You thought leaders are nobody. I don't think you watch, but I don't give a fuck. You're not anybody. You shouldn't be able to buy influence and power. None of that makes you special. Probably just makes you a pedophile.
Budget at Cold War levels. It doesn't matter. Recall Dr. King's dream of racial equality, but put more blacks in prison than anybody in history. Continue the military.
Well, then you got the vice president now, who was one of the most corrupt imprisoners of people that run. So really, Camille, I get it. Secret white supremacist. That's what she is. I mean, she would get mad if you called her that, but must probably be because she built her whole career on that. So I think this is the problem, being 50-something and not living in a corrupt, shithole-infested city, I got to watch from the outside, I guess. And, yeah, boy, I couldn't. If you got a creepy neighbor, you go pound on their door.
Racial equality, but put more blacks in prison than anybody in history. Continue the military budget at Cold War levels. It doesn't matter the party, homie, they all devils. Approve the FBI attack on Koresh. Fire swept through the whole building, burning flesh. His crime bill got a lot of attention, but it emphasized punishment, not prevention. Persuaded voters he was tough on crime, but tougher is dumber when you give them double the time. Clinton removed welfare benefits from immigrants. Legal or illegal, most of y'all don't know the difference. Who did the free trade agreement really preserve? Why the number of prisoners?
I mean, I know the difference. The legal guy gets to work right next to me, and he's a good fucking man. He helped me build a bunch of shit landscaping. He worked his ass off, and uno mas, no mas, and thank you for the tortillas and beans in the morning can get a lot of shit done with people you actually like working with. The other guy wasn't allowed to work, or the company had to be corrupt to give him a job. So yeah, I really can fucking tell the difference. One was my friend, the other was a criminal committing a crime to be here. So yeah, there's a huge fucking difference there. They're not the same kind of people. Here, y'all want to if you're a leftist, then you want to demonize and say that we're trying to insurrection. No, we just don't want the assholes to take over our country and ruin it like they did everywhere else. Us working class people would like to just have something for our kids still. So fuck you, elite Pizzagate, fucking loving child, fucking banging douchebags. Today, I can see a theme today, and that's because they sealed all those, so we can't find out who that Max Lane trial. Epstein didn't kill himself, bitches. Sorry. Those people are your enemies. The people that go to islands to murder and rape children are your enemies. And they're really, really fucking real. And we just saw the biggest cover-up in what should have been. Yeah, well, there. Yeah, I wish I had a bunch of Q friends because they could cry all about it because none of their dreams are coming true, but they keep telling me they're getting med beds and technology that's going to save the fucking world. You can't even find out who rapes children on one of the millions of rapo-pedo islands that exist. Fuck your fantasy utopia. It's never coming true.
Know the difference. Who did the free trade agreement really preserve? Why the number of prisoners double when Clinton served? Domination of the media was there to vaccinate. If God intended us to vote.
You can hate me. So after I did my bit, and like I said, anybody knows I did almost 5 years in the joint. I got out because they railroaded me, but I was supposed to do 6 out of 9. I got out, first thing I did was invest in the private prison industry. I hate the prison industry. It was fucking horrible, and they railroaded me, and they warehouse human beings. But because it was so popular, I invested in it, got like 110% return, then cashed out. Didn't make much money. It was actually a proof of concept. I took the Robert Kiyosaki Rich Dad Poor Dad course, and the entire thing that I could take away from that financial course was evil pays, bad people run the world, and we can cry about it all we want, but we never stop them, so we must like it. We keep going to work every day. I've already asked my boss if he sides with the Chinese or because he gets parts from China. I said, who do you side with? I need to know, because I could quit right now. You know what I mean? If you side with the enemy, I'm not going to let you co-opt my labor. You're high.
And serve. Domination of the media was there to vaccinate. If God intended us to vote, he would have gave us candidates. Bush versus Gore, that was your decision. Both support the death penalty and growth of prisons. NATO ran too, but the media denying it. He emphasized education, healthcare, environment. Half the country didn't even vote, and that's a sign. Appealing to class warfare that no one's buying. Gore received hundreds of thousands or more votes. Proof the electoral process is a joke. Bush took office and pushed tax cuts for the wealthy. Opposed environmental regulations for the money. 9 months into his presidency, 9/11 immediately declared a war on terrorism. He said,
I think this shit's a bomb. Oh, that mellow vibe, and it's just so straight in your face. And I agree with almost all of this, except that both sides, the winners always. I mean, I even think Trump's beholden to the pharmacon industry. Otherwise, why would he be saying all that shit? I mean, I think we need 100,000 new songs about the New World Order and the douchebags who think this is going to be some globalist utopia. That you better look into what they're saying, because they've already picked the subservient culture they want to dominate the planet. You should look into what Schwab wrote in that book. You really should. Because when you only see the system right in front of your eyes, you do not ever pull back the curtain and see who's really running it. And it wasn't us. I'd say South Park got it more right than this. That world police is exactly what the globalists used us for. And then they used patriotism and honor to hustle us the whole way to get it. Team America, fuck yeah.
That they were Saudi, said it was the Taliban. Regulations for the money. 9 months into his presidency, 9/11 immediately declared a war on terrorism. He said that they were Saudi, said it was the Taliban. Then he ordered the bombing of Afghanistan. You kill our civilians, we kill y'all civilians. How the fuck that makes sense when we all civilians? Wartime presidents do wartime shit. That's why wartime presidents can suck my dick. There were minority voices that were criticizing war. You can't match violence, but violence should be the law. We stationed troops in Saudi on the holiest of shrines. Military aid for occupying Palestine. Killing innocent Arabs to come back to haunt us. And stupid motherfuckers sit and wonder why they bomb us.
If you're like me, you have a lot of friends who are depressed. A lot of friends who go around very gloomy, think the world is coming to an end. You can understand people feeling depressed. You can understand people feeling desperate. Because the truth is, we're faced with evil. There's an enormous number of people who care about the world and about the country, want to do something about it, and those numbers are going to grow so long as people persist and don't give up.
I don't believe that at all. I believe almost everybody just gives a fuck about themselves, from your Extinction Rebellion goofballs who lay in the street and smear shit all over themselves, but would never admit to you that the top climate change people have all quit because it's a money grab scam. But then you think misforestry management is global warming. You think solar maximum to solar minimum weather changes are global warming, as they just pull the strings. So yeah, you get that shit right. I think there's a whole lot of people that want to fuck animals, care about themselves, and curl up internally and be the most self-centered creatures they've ever been. I believe you've destroyed family, tradition, and as they misuse words, culture, love, family, loyalty, honor, hard work, respect. That ain't white supremacy, motherfuckers. That's what built every family, from a hut in the middle of the Serengeti to the fucking Inuit up at the fucking North Pole. Well, okay, up there. Don't even start. Inuits, real people. I was following them saying the globe, the wobble, the tinfoil hat story of the Inuit claiming the globe is tipped on its axis, but the farmer's almanac and that story don't quite match up. And like we just entered the rebirth cycle. Every day gets a little bit longer. More life should be surging through you, but do you have a connection? Do you have an actual connection to the planet? Or is it a fucking talking point? Because that's one of my good rabbit holes. I know you could look at, there's so many people that quit the climate change debate because it's just a money skip. Gore. Thank God that, hey, how are them polar bears?
And those numbers are going to grow so long as people persist and don't give up.
Yeah, I was 100% wrong on this song. 100% wrong. So I thought, man, I'm going to get stoned as soon as I'm done, because this is two in a row. So the power governments can't suppress, as if all the people except for the whiners would come together and realize that we are the power. It's that stupid meme with your leader standing out there and the group standing on the board. It's a, or that the one that they consider anti-Semitic, which is, your Zionist leaders on the chessboard and all us broken husks of people. And that's the thing. Shame on anyone who co-opts oppression, really, because there's not a single time in the city-state system that every one of us didn't become someone else's bitch. We've lived under a class system since we left the hunter-gatherer tribal state. Tell me I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure I'm not. And I'm nobody. Right? The problem is we don't get along. Men covet what other men want. What men covet what other men have. And no matter what the media tells you, women can't stop that from happening. There, my personal opinions are as free-flowing today as they've ever been. This was very good. I liked it. I believe, like I said, 95% of this song is right. The what we get it done ain't going to be climate change activists. It ain't going to be Greta Thunbergs and being huffy. It's going to be all the working class people. Start using your heads and turn on your supposed thought leaders in not an action, violence-driven form, but put them in check. Every socialist douchebag around you who doesn't work hard enough but then expects you to do what they say, put them in check. Not violently, not physically, verbally, with your free speech, but let them know it's unfucking acceptable. Your plans are unsustainable and your utopia doesn't exist. So let's at least cultivate liberty and freedom and then free more people. I mean, it's quite obvious what all the gun turning in got. Hey, wouldn't you want them? I'm sorry for the Australians that are happy. But I watch close enough to know that the propaganda's getting really thick. And then New Zealand. Didn't they lock down for a single case? Are you fucking high? That's all insane. I'm just saying. We decide when this ends, not them. They're just going to keep going as long as we bend over. I said it last night, I'll say it again. The entire lockdown scheme was based on a guess for how long you would tolerate it. Had nothing to do with science because it's a test scam. Just like the climate change scam. Just like a global unity scam. Or a you're telling me you're for the workers scam, but you're talking from the teachers union platform. Fuck off. Oh yeah, no, I wish I could have just stopped right there with that, but here, we'll try it again. Hey, to all the people that resonate to this, thank you. We're going to go do more. To everyone who's offended, like I said, fuck off.